Do you want to do the intro?
It's another edition of Scuba and the Rye.
Alright. Yeah.
Rye guy gets to speak first.
What are you trying to say? I don't let you speak first?
I'm always chained up.
You know, remember, this is kind of family thing. We kind of don't need to go into that, but, you know.
Hey, love is bounded.
Oh, yes, yes.
Clink, clink.
Yep. And you're experiencing those feelings, so I'm sure you're getting well used to that.
Hardship and pain.
Yeah, and I'm sure when she hears that, she's gonna give me that evil eye when she.
Well, it's not pertaining to that, but
yeah,
chain away.
Yeah, well, you
good
know.
chains.
That's true.
Roses and sunflower seeds.
So how you been, Ryan?
I have been good. Just another day in the life of a trainer. Another training this week. So
lots of training.
It's whatever's the directive. You know, we trainers have to get up, get ready, and get prepared and go. So
what do you think? What do you find is most helpful with the training you do?
Well, most helpful in what I train or how I prepare.
The how you train, what you train is like.
Yeah.
Is going to be specific, and we don't want to get into any kind of proprietary knowledge, but the methodology of training.
The methodology of my training, well, it's a lot of it's a mixture of information being spread out to the people in the beginning, and then practical. So when I do my training, because of the specifics that it is related to health insurance, a lot of stuff is practical. It's not typical stuff you would find in certain education environments, or even when I used to do part of the training in IT. So with this, it's a mixture of knowledge and practical.
Another thing happened last week was did another volunteering out on the airsoft field, which is always a good time. I have new shirts, so now I'm a much bigger red target. Which
you can be seen.
I can be seen, and you know what? It paid off. I didn't get hit as much.
Emphasis as much.
The hits I did get were not in any of the red areas. Yeah. It was in the legs.
Of course. I guess we gotta paint them red too.
Segue into
partners in crime.
Yeah.
A duel. Because this time you came and joined me for this movie.
I did. I actually got out to the theater for this one. It's been a few weeks. Got to experience the Dolby Theater for the first time.
Over at AMC Lynn Haven. Fairly new. They just built it, so.
Yeah, overall, I don't knock anyone who wants to go in for that full dive immersion. But me personally, because of some of the various hearing issues I've had over the years, I felt the volume was just a little too loud for me.
Understandable. That's fine.
But, I mean, and that's a personal thing, you know, and there's ways to combat that. But having the vibrating chairs and the full recline, you know, it made for a very good experience.
Yeah, I experienced it for the first time with A Star Is Born, and that was a good movie to experience it with because, I mean, it's a drama, but it does incorporate a lot of music elements in there. Yeah, so
a strong soundtrack is definitely going to be your thing. But I feel that with those types of environments, and this is probably just a general audio problem, is A Star Is Born is a drama, and it has music pieces. A movie like Armageddon, or a movie like Transformers,
yes,
or a American blockbuster action film, which has the Michael Bay effect of explosions after explosions
kaboom,
in place
kaboom,
of dialogue
kaboom.
And story.
Yes.
I feel that the fact that they set the volume in those theaters and don't really pay attention to, okay, this film is going to have an audio quality like this. This other film, the audio is going to be so radical, it's going to vary so radically. And I think that plays into why some films I probably, if I watch it in there, I'll enjoy. Other films, it'll feel like it's too loud.
Yeah. And I guess it just all depends on, like you said, film type, on what is being incorporated.
Yeah.
So it definitely is. I've experienced various films in there, and each one I've had varying degree of fun and excitement. and just as it is.
But you haven't come out of one with like, oh god, this hurt my ears.
Because I'm completely like, I'm caught. I'm that kid in the candy store when I'm in that theater. I'm just completely immersed into anything I'm watching, regardless of how I rate it or not. It's just that immersion that just gets me going.
The worst scenes. There was one recent film, and that was Endgame. Went and saw Endgame, and the audio in the theater was so jacked up. There was an extra squelch at the highs. It was like half the theater came out of there with a migraine. So they've since fixed it, but it's just, again, that audio quality. But speaking of which, the film we went and saw, probably comes as no surprise, was Hobbs and Shaw. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, the long title, but in layman's terms, it's Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw. And so this was a first quote-unquote spin-off of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yes, this is the first spin-off after 8 films. They went and branched off with a couple of the side characters that came in later on in the series. Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw. Luke Hobbs is played by Dwayne Johnson and Deckard Shaw is played by Jason Statham. Very well-known actors in the movie business, especially when it comes to action films. Dwayne Johnson known for his persona as The Rock in WWF/WWE back in the day.
Yeah, and then he got into acting, and he's done a wide variety of roles.
Oh yes, he's done everything from the children's films to some dramas, lots of action. So he's gone over everywhere, and he's done voice acting for Moana.
Yeah, he was voice acting for that. He's done several Disney properties now that you think about it.
Oh yeah, he's done quite a few, but it got him to where he's at today, where he's people that know him as The Rock, like me, who grew up watching him as The Rock, but he's come full circle where he is not known as Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's just Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, because that was a big thing when he did Scorpion King and Mummy 2.
He's like, oh look, it's The Rock. Is he gonna rock bottom somebody in the sand?
Yeah, it's all the credits would be Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Now it's just Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, he's fully solidified himself as a star.
Yes.
Which is a great achievement, because a lot of people that come from the wrestling world can't get that far in, and he set the bar high, and he's allowed for other people to start ciphering in, like Dave Bautista and John Cena.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, tell us your take on the movie.
My take on the movie overall, it is what I expected it to be.
And
that is a complete bombastic kind of film. It had every cliche known to man, at least every cliche that could be defined in any action film in the last 20 years was either referenced, built, or spread out across a very thin plot. Emphasis on thin plot.
Very thin.
As my tagline in my review says, buddying up for action beyond logic. Because if you try to go into this movie trying to define what is actually happening, you will lose your mind on any logical conception of characterization, storytelling, or anything in between.
Well, that, and also it's when we get into like looking at the Fast and Furious franchise as a whole.
Oh yes,
these are supposed to be everyday people. They just happen to be really passionate about cars. Then you bring in Hobbs, and then when you finally come toward Hobbs and Shaw, and the introduction of Hobbs and Shaw, the introduction of Cypher, and the introduction of just the Shaw family and Cypher, and then Hobbs. Hobbs kind of because the film he's introduced, that's where the Fast and Furious franchise really pivots.
Yeah, it pivots
from
a
the
lot.
early incarnations to kind of a heist thing. And the heist is really kind of, okay, you guys, dragged us safe through Rio. Like, really?
Yeah, it is when he was introduced, Luke Hobbs was introduced as the guy that was chasing Toretto and his crew in Brazil in Fast 5. And like you said, that is when the pivot began. But I believe at that point where that pivot happened, it made that film a very standout film because it found that balance between the action, the characters, and the story. It found its perfect balance. That's why it is my favorite Fast film to this date. Out of all of them, it's that Fast 5 I could watch every single day. It's actually in my top 10 list of action films.
Yeah, because it really does blend a whole lot. Yeah. But, the introduction of Hobbs and the addition of Dwayne Johnson to the Fast franchise, you all of a sudden see the whole franchise pivot into elements where it's like these are start off with everyday people, and now they're getting into these situations that really define logic. And it's like, is it really possible?
Yeah, it goes beyond the possibilities, and it just goes into the realm of how far can I push it to where it's like, okay, we can be a self-referencing film on our own selves and just have fun.
Yeah.
So when you start watching from Fast 5 and beyond, even though a lot of the logic gets thrown out the window, they've ironically gotten even more fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Because the characters... What makes the Fast films still that enjoyable is because you grew up with these characters, so you don't really have to define their backstory. You know who they are. Mm-hmm. So it makes it more endearing when it's like, how far can they push it?
Yeah. And which leads us all into Hobbs and Shaw, and again, it's that perception. Yeah. This is kind of what we started off as. The perception of the Fast films is this. You kind of looked at these characters and this is how you see them, and now you have a film. Now you move into this film where the two of them are center stage, and you kind of had a taste for it in Fate of the Furious.
Yes, you got a little bit of taste.
And that's obviously how they kind of got the idea that this would work, because of the two of them back and forth. When leading up to that, it's like you think they're this, and then you get that familiarity, and then they just totally dump the authority that they somewhat totally dump the authoritative role they had as their initial incarnations. Like Deckard Shaw was a criminal. It felt like he was a criminal.
Yeah.
And it felt like this is what Spec Ops could put out if someone really had raw talent and decided, hey, they were sick of it and they went private. Then you have Luke Hobbs, who, when you first see him and you first start to get to know this character, granted the goatee disappears through each film, but it's that he seemed to heal, and then you see him passionate, and then the whole thing with his daughter in in Fast 6.
Yeah.
Or is it either Fast 6 or Fast 7?
I think you see her in 7.
Yeah, you see her in 7, because in 6 they went after Owen Shaw.
Yeah.
And put Owen in the hospital. But then you see his daughter, and then in Fate, there's more emphasis on Hobbs and his family, and it's like, it isn't fitting with how Brian talked about Hobbs when they first cross him in Rio. He doesn't come across that, and you can kind of tell as they get later in the films, that whole character softens so much from the way he came across in 5.
Yeah.
And then you get into this and this perception of these two, and then you realize, oh God, they completely rewrote the characters, I think.
Oh yeah. So the rewrite of it plays into the fact it is a spin-off. So, it centralizes on these two characters, and it's the basic plot line of, save the world and try to prevent a cybernetically enhanced villain, Brixton, played by Idris Elba, from getting a hold of this deadly virus that could destroy the world. Typical plot line you can find in any spy action
very James Bond-ish plot line.
That's beating a dead horse, because there is a lot of spy James Bond references in this movie.
There's a lot of other references to other movies they've done and other tropes about them.
Yeah. So it lays it on in the beginning, saying, this is what we are. Mm-hmm. This is what you're going to expect.
Very Odd Couple, buddy cop. I mean, you could definitely see influences from Another 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop, just Odd Couple type thing, that whole East-West. I mean, there's so many movies that have been done that are in the action genre that take one person from one world and one person from another world, and they got to come together to save the world.
Yeah. And even though that's a story trope that's been played hundreds and hundreds of times, it is one that makes the film so enjoyable and so hilarious, and just the random bantering between them and between other characters in the film, and it just creates an unpredictable nature of you really don't know what's going to happen, even though it's a very basic plot line and you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we know how we know going into it how it's going to end.
Yes,
they're the heroes. Villains turned heroes,
yeah,
and then heroes that are more family oriented. Then you're led to believe in the beginning when you first meet them.
Yeah.
So it really changes that whole perception of them. And don't get me wrong, I did really enjoy the movie. It's just as you pick it apart and look at, they really did change these. You can see the whole pivot, because I think the whole Fast franchise, once they started introducing the old, I'll call them the old guard, so to speak, of action movies.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, Jason Statham, and Dwayne Johnson. The three of them entering the franchise, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's ratcheting up to what those three do in regular films. The Fast franchise, to me, always felt like it was a kind of basement action franchise. It didn't feel very over the top, and now it feels over the top because of the talent they have attracted to it, so they just got to be over the top.
Pulling in certain actors and actresses, it pushes that term of over the top to a certain dynamic, to where it just becomes leveled on an extreme where they just keep repeating the same thing over and over, but they're not pushing it too far.
No, but it was good. I mean, you get to meet more of the Shaw family. I'm a little disappointed there's no reference to Owen.
That's not a spoiler, people. It's pretty obvious that's either they didn't care or it's just a plot hole.
I call it lazy writing.
I was being kosher, but
I'm gonna call it straight up, because I liked Owen. I liked his reappearance in Fate of the Furious. Yeah. I thought that was a really good element, and if this spinoff is supposed to be, and it does in a lot of ways expand the Fast and Furious universe, which I like. That then it's like, let's go in different directions within this universe, but
complete ignoring of it just goes to the fact that they only wanted to focus on one side of the coin and be like, you know what, we're just going to simply just not mention it.
Yeah, because that felt like it was a disservice in the writing point, especially that one scene where it's like you find out Decker there's a sister Shaw, and it's like there's no reference to having the other brother come and visit mom. No, it's the older brother and the sister, and nothing about the younger brother.
Yeah, there's nothing against introducing new characters, but just completely ignoring something. You don't even have to go in depth on where character A is in relation to character B. You just be like, they're doing something. Which
I think that's something Marvel does really well.
Yeah,
Marvel will name drop a character that showed up previously, because they have, especially when the relationship to current characters is prevalent.
Oh yeah, Marvel's just really good at that, because it's not about emphasizing the fact that you gotta make every point in the universe major. It's just a connection to. Yeah. And you don't have to always make a connection to everything, but it's just the knowledge of it's there. You gotta
acknowledge what's already been said and not ignore it.
But that comes with the territory with this film, because it's all about the action, the bombastic nature, and just
which there's fights. No shortage of. Yeah. There's no shortage of.
Everything is built off those kind of scenes, and everything is linked by, some kind of fight, some kind of bantering monologue, or some kind of bombastic explosion of some.
Which you can almost, beat for beat know. Okay, we've hit this high, and now we're coming down, so we need this and this.
Yeah.
We know when they start doing that, it builds up again.
Yeah. So characters come, the plot is introduced, bantering, another action scene. You gotta finally come together and head on the villain. It's pretty much beat by beat. But as I said, it's its own self-referencing tool, and it knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be anything more, anything less.
Okay.
So it does create for a fun, enjoyable journey, even with all its heavy flaws.
Yeah, and I will say that regardless, I strongly feel the cameos are worth the price of admission.
Not knowing the cameos made it better.
Oh yeah.
Than if I knew what the cameos were.
The Easter egg.
The Easter eggs were just downright hilarious. Because
what's that eyebrow thing you do? Oh, this?
Yeah.
Like, really? That's self-aware.
Yeah. There's a lot of self-awareness when it comes to referencing things in here, but that's what makes it enjoyable. Unlike films that play in the playground of simple dumb fun. The ones that fail at it are the ones that do the simple dumb fun but try to put logic in it. So when you try to define your own illogical means, it makes the film even more. It makes the film worse because you're trying to explain the simplicity of what it should be, which is just a simple dumb fun ride.
Yep, and that's what this is. It's a fun ride, and it really kind of adds more layers. Now, I will be impressed if, when we get Fast and Furious 9
comes out next year,
there is some connection to some of the larger world events of Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, if they ride dinosaurs and go to space, it's going to be a perfect film to me, sarcastically. But back to Hobbs and Shaw.
What was your rating for Hobbs and Shaw?
After putting it through the fine-tooth comb of my mind, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a fun time at the theaters. It's a fun time for fans of the series or fans of the characters. But overall, I think it's worth at least a matinee.
Okay. So it's definitely still go check it out.
It's still a theater.
Check it out in a good sound quality theater, or
So how would you rate it on the rating scale?
As a standalone film, I would probably definitely give it a 3. It's definitely enjoyable.
That would be a theater discount on my scale.
Yeah, I would definitely. It's enjoyable. I feel the pacing kind of, some of it I felt a little forced, but I don't think I've laughed that hard.
I don't think I've seen you, and we've been to a few movies together. I don't think I've seen you laugh that hard. This is a comedy that's wrapped up as an action film. Yeah, it is.
It's straight up comedy, which, given a lot of the performances of Dwayne Johnson I've seen, he really does have a knack for comedy.
Yeah, that just comes with the territory because he's strong charisma.
And Jason Statham, he may do a lot of action, and he may be this very brooding British guy for a lot of films, but he's hilarious too when he has that moment. And I think and the two of them together, I think, is really hilarious, and the whole dynamic with the sister and the whole, it's like you finding out, it's like, okay, there was this organization that I think, and this is where I get into speculation, I think Cypher is on their radar as well. And that might be something, because you could tell Cypher had a history with the Shaw brothers, and then with Brexton, and it's like, okay, where does Cypher fit into all this?
Yeah, because she's still out there.
She's still out there, and then there's this person who knew Hobbs from his history and is going to come after Hobbs. It's
they'll go ahead and build on the past.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. But overall, I would definitely give it a solid 3. I'm not as refined in scaling, but I felt it was a good film, and where it was shortcomings, I'm a little more critical on as far as fitting it in, because this was marketed as part of the Fast franchise. Even though it's a spin-off,
Yeah.
it's still part of the Fast franchise, and they did not acknowledge some of the elements from the current Fast universe.
Yeah, that's something that could deter some people. Not deter, but it could make you become, why is this not even talked about? But like you said, it's all in the writing.
Yeah. Did you see in your research afterwards, did you realize who the third cameo was?
I probably do, but it's just going past my mind right now.
Here you go for your puzzle.
Okay.
The director of Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes.
What film did he direct previously?
You're talking about Mr. Poole?
Mm-hmm. Deadpool 2. Yep.
Okay.
Peter. He is in Hobbs and Shaw.
We'll have to talk about it later.
Yep.
No spoilers.
Nope. It's the only one. It's the only one I'm going to give, but that cameo was a subtle one.
Okay, I might know it, but my brain is just vague right now. It's all about kickstarting it.
Well, just think about that phone conversation about my guy and your guy.
Okay, now I know. See, now I know.
My guy and your guy.
Okay, I see. I see what you did there.
So we both gave it a fairly even,
it's
middle of the road rating. So it wasn't
anything above a 3 on my scale is a positive. So
yeah,
when it starts on under 3, it just depends on how hard my headache is.
Now let's look at it in terms of its overall box office impact. It looks like over the course of the weekend, it made roughly 180 million worldwide.
That's what the numbers
60 million domestically, which isn't bad.
Yeah, decent numbers.
But let's also look at, who is its competition in the box office?
Well, there's quite a few movies out there that are still chipping away. You have The Lion King.
Third week in box office, definitely draws money.
You have a Spider-Man still lingering out there.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4 still lingering out there. And the previous film that came out last week, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So there's still fans of QD that probably, sneaking out the theaters to check out what's there.
Yeah, so it had some competitions for the box office.
It did pull some numbers away, but, not as big as they might have wanted projected. But
well, it cost roughly $200 million to make the film. They've made $180 million in ticket sales.
Oh, yes.
So they would probably need to clear another 50 or 60 million minimum.
I think it'll be fine because
this weekend to really make profit, start making profit, because it's not a bad. Even a lot of the web critics saying it's not a bad film.
Yeah.
But it's still too early to. It definitely looks like it's not a commercial bomb.
It's not going to make the fast money because it's a spinoff, and in most films where they have spinoffs normally do not break the parent of the series. Yeah. So it's all about, can it make its chunk of change to build a series off of it? Because what it is they want this to be the springboard for other spinoffs in this universe.
Yeah. Which would be nice to see. Disney apparently was having a conversation or earnings call
one
or
of their
something?
earnings call, Bob Iger was talking with the group of peeps, and word coming out of it is they're trying to figure out how to. They've already said that they're going to keep Deadpool rated R. That's the footnote. That's the baseline. That's what it's going to be. But how to have a rated R character mingle with a PG-13 universe, that's where the conversation has come up.
Okay.
So it plays into the fact is what's in a rating and how important is a rating in when it comes to certain franchise and characters, and how do you make a set of characters from one part work with another.
Well, I think rating is one of those stigmas since we're talking about Deadpool.
Yes.
Ratings was a stigma prior to Deadpool because your rating would limit your audience, and it would limit. And so movie studios would be all about how to draw the most audience, so they would dance the line for the rating to try and market it to the broadest spectrum. I mean, let's think about it. Disney and their animated films that are rated G literally print money because of the quality of story and the fact that it doesn't violate any of the ratings to limit its audience. And then you get into PG, PG-13, and as you referenced, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, is largely virtually PG-13 across the board.
Yeah, I don't think there's one that goes further than PG-13. I think every single one has been PG-13.
Yeah, none of them have gone lower, but they've definitely hit that line for the broadest audience.
Yes.
Because then you definitely are catering to adult people. It's friendly enough for the kids. And then we have Deadpool.
Deadpool went and just shattered that stigma of the R rating because it proved the point that if you can bring a character that is known to a few, but propagate great marketing and also great story and characters, it'll bring people in the masses.
Yeah.
So the R rating just went away with the stigma because it's just okay. It plays into what the character is. So the rated R rating made it possible for Deadpool to be Deadpool on the big screen. In the most basic layman's terms I can put it.
Yeah. So, and that's story.
Yeah. And it goes to the point, it wasn't rated R because they just wanted to throw blood, guts, and sexual scenes. It was rated R so they could tell the story like it should be told.
Yes. Do credit to the character.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where you limit a lot of things when it's like, this character really functions well in this environment. You try to dial it down, it doesn't work out so well. So, keeping Deadpool rated R, I think, does justice to the source material and does justice to what really allows Ryan Reynolds to perform. Because if you think about his films, and this is something I noticed just pondering this, is Ryan Reynolds' films that are the most successful are all rated R, where he can just cut loose with his off-the-cuff humor.
Yeah.
Some people don't like it. There's the famous things about Blade 3.
Yeah, that should be left in the closet.
I didn't think it was a bad film, but learning more about what's happening behind the scenes, I think it definitely raises my opinion on work ethic, because they still managed to get the film done. But Ryan Reynolds is very much a off-the-cuff kind of personality, where he just goes and goes and goes.
He plays off the typical impromptu kind of comedy, but at the same time is always straight-laced, forward, and obvious.
Yeah. So I think some of his most successful films are the ones that are rated R because there's no filter, so, which is why he is Deadpool. There's no recasting of that.
They're just gonna have to clone him to keep it going.
Apparently, and he's done a wide variety of films too.
Oh, yes.
So let's not discount
everything
the
from
fact.
Comedy to rom-coms to
horror.
Yeah, he has done horror.
He has a couple of horror films in his pocket. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
But I think the rating is is simply just a marketing guideline. Yeah. But I think what we've been hashing on time and time again lately is the trinity of a success is the director, the actors, and the writing.
Yeah. If you have that three, you can make it work. So mixing Deadpool from his rated R franchise into the MCU, the PG-13, it all boils down to the writing. You can emphasize the fact of the character without being so bombastic to fit it when it needs to fit.
Yeah. I just don't think Deadpool could really function in a PG-13 environment. Because if you do, you just got to make the language joke.
Oh, yeah.
From Ultron.
But he does have that wild card that can make it possible. It's that fourth wall breaking.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So it is possible, but it is something that shows that there's a willingness in the head honchos at Disney. They're like, okay, we know what we have. We don't want to take away what's already been there. How do we mix it in with the pot?
That's fair.
Yeah. So that's where the boiling of the surface is. But that'll come down to the writers, and they'll find a way.
Yeah. Especially with Kevin Feige helming Marvel.
Yeah, he is the mastermind of this, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. All right.
And Feige, I trust. Make a good Fantastic Four movie. That's all I'm asking.
I think that will be the make or break for him.
Yeah.
Because, that franchise has definitely struggled.
No more clouds, please. No more clouds.
All right, speaking of Disney, we're getting close to the launch of the Disney Plus streaming service.
Yes, November 12th is when it'll launch.
I can't wait.
I am
excited. So for that, just to see all the Marvel stuff, all the Disney stuff. I'm really hoping that the classic 90s Disney cartoons will be on Disney Plus.
If Tailspin and Rescue Rangers are there, you're going to see me jumping through windows, catapulting, and doing jumping jacks at the same time.
Because I want to watch the original DuckTales.
Woohoo!
I want to watch the original DuckTales.
Darkwing Duck.
That's a good one, too. I saw a couple of episodes of the new DuckTales, and as much as I love the voice actors who are doing it, the animation I just can't get behind. I've seen the
animation.
Modern animation.
It just takes me and be like, I'm just going to go back to anime.
And I realized they tried to be closer to the Duck comics.
Yes.
Which all kind of formed up around Donald and the boys and all that. I get it, but something about it, and I'd say this with a lot of the new Disney stuff, like their shorts and everything. It's like, I can't. It feels just a little too toilet humor, and I am not a fan of toilet humor.
Yeah, you're not a big fan of toilet humor.
You get too much toilet humor, I'm not doing it. I'm not. It's too corny. I'm out.
Yeah. All you have to do to make it work is, like I say, dance the line just a bit. But it is what it is.
Then that goes ratings and everything else, So, Disney Plus. You learned some new things about Disney Plus. What you got?
Oh yeah. So when it launches, Disney Plus launches November 12th. It's going to have over 300 movies and over 7,000 TV episodes available for the streaming audience. Not to mention one of the big things that came out just this week. Outside of the fact it's going to be $6.99 a month for Disney Plus, which is pretty
impressive.
Pretty impressive. But the bundle package, because Disney has an umbrella of other things in their wallet.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. We think of Disney and the House of Mouse. We probably forget about the fact that they own ABC.
They own ABC.
As such, they own ESPN,
the worldwide leader in sports. Still.
So it's like, wait a minute. This is a guy that Mickey Mouse can fly to the Death Star, travel through time and space and the multiverse, and catch a football game.
Oh yeah, gotta score a touchdown here and there. Make it break. So
also, again, we ESPN also just again because building up to this is that whole purchase of Fox and collateral from purchasing Fox
includes Fox Sports.
Fox Sports, which goes in there, but also, I think they kept that.
Yeah, Fox kept the sports part.
But no, Fox had a share in the Hulu streaming service, and then it was announced not too long ago that Disney has reached an agreement with Comcast and Universal to purchase their stake in Hulu.
It just increases their ownership.
In a few years.
Oh, yeah.
So that all comes to... And the reason why we bring up Disney Plus, ESPN, and Hulu is...
They are going to also, on top of the $6.99 for Disney Plus, they're going to have at launch a bundle package of Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu for $12.99 a month.
Now, do you know if that's a full-on Hulu Plus?
Well, that Hulu package, I believe, will be the one with ads. Don't quote me or not, but you will, with the trifecta, you're going to have access to everything.
Pretty much.
So, pretty much, if y'all don't know, ESPN Plus is another streaming service for the ESPN platform, which houses all the different live games you can get from baseball, tennis, football, basketball, etc., etc., as well as their original contents, which focus on a lot of documentaries and other stories that happen in the world of sports. So
you're a big sports person, though.
Yeah, so that's a big thing, because that means you'll get access to a lot of history related to athletes, to certain matches, to certain games, etc., etc. So it is also good on a retrospect because it highlights sports writing. So it puts a lot of sports writers at the forefront with this.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the meme and take my money now.
Yes, because that $12.99 definitely is an eyebrow raiser, but in a good way. Because what it shows is that Disney is committed to tackle on the streaming services full force.
Yeah.
And putting the prices this low, and not just a few months ago, they said they are purposely going to take losses in the first 3 years so they can build up their subscription service. And you can see they are fighting hard against the giants of Netflix and Amazon
loss
Prime.
Compared to the money they're pulling in right now is going to be trivial.
Yes, they own way too much, where the billion is just a dust off their shoulders.
Yeah, I really don't see them taking much of a loss at the end of the balance sheet.
Yeah.
It might be a loss in that particular section of the balance sheet, but once you tie in the rest of their holdings, it'll be such a minute loss.
Yeah. But another plus of what this does, what it does with the other streaming platforms, is with Disney having their own streaming service, they're pulling a lot of stuff out off of like Netflix and Amazon because it's their property, so that it's their rights. They can do that. But it's also forcing these other streaming services to get more creative, do better investments. You have Netflix investing a lot internationally, so it's pulling in a lot of shows and a lot of content that wouldn't be exposed to people in America.
Yeah, there was one mutual friend of ours, G. He was telling me the other day about a show called The Typewriter. It's a foreign show.
Yeah.
It's a horror show, and it's all subtitled.
Oh yeah.
So foreign films I like just because they tell stories differently.
Oh yeah.
In the sense that the stories they tell are generally more dialogue focused and character focused, as opposed to crazy Americans who like to blow everything up.
Explosions, gunfire, car chases, bam. But
desensitizing of America. Go figure.
Yeah. So you have like Netflix on one end, and then you have Amazon, which is expanding its presence with its original content, with like the big investment in that Lord of the Rings series. So this is it's you can see the Disney Plus as a plus for the streaming services, but it will see how the prices will be down the road.
Well, we'll see how that goes. In other movie news and video games and comic books, it looks like Venom 2 has a director.
Andy Serkis has been hired to direct Venom 2.
That will be pretty cool.
Oh yeah. He doesn't have a lot of directing credits, but when they were filming The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, he was part of the second unit. So a lot of those scenes were guided by him. He also directed the other Jungle Book movie called Mowgli, which is on Netflix.
One was real. From what I understand, that was really good. Not to mention the whole fact that his best talents right now with the world of mocap, and doing Venom is going to require mocap, and he's the man.
Yeah.
When it comes to mocap, even some of the stuff coming off the set of Age of Ultron, both the actors who were mocap for the majority of the film, he sat down with him and discussed talents and tips and techniques.
So it'll definitely emphasize.
You can even see there's an improvement in the performance of Rob Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo in his performance of Hulk from Avengers, and then through the end of Age of Ultron, you can definitely tell there is a definite.
He humanized the character more, so you became it became more prevalent throughout the films.
So I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, he's going. I believe that this hiring is actually going to make for a better experience with Venom, because, like you said, he has the knowledge with mocap, so he can definitely make the Venom character and Carnage character a good complement of a yin and yang, instead of just a traditional bad guy, good guy kind of mantra. And anything from the first one will be an up and up, because I didn't give the first one a very good review. It hurt my head.
What, the first Venom?
Yeah, I did not like the first Venom.
First Venom was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I do see the shortfalls. Don't get me wrong, I do see the shortfalls.
That is the...
And I saw that they did a lot in that film to really pay homage to the fan base.
They paid a lot of homage to the fan base, but going back to what I referenced in Hobbs and Shaw, where you dance that simple, dumb fun, but you try to explain the illogical, that happened way too much in Venom.
Yeah, there was a little too much logic in that.
Only good thing it was a free ticket because of A-list, so it didn't hurt me too much.
Yeah, well, you know, it has its moments, like female Venom. She Venom, that was good. That whole sequence, some of the shortfalls with some of the shortfalls in some of the character development, especially for your villain, which I think what really helps is a really kind of interesting villain, because Hobbs and Shaw, I actually liked Braxton.
Idris Elba made that character so great, because he took the cheesy lines and emphasized a Shakespearean kind of emphasis, which made the satire even more hilarious.
I really did like his character. I like the just that you realize this is a throwaway villain. You realize this villain is not going to have a lot of depth, but again, that charisma that he has.
Yeah, it's just another thing that goes back. If you get people in and they know what they're doing, they can make the terrible great.
And you let them be. You let them contribute.
Yeah.
You don't let them contribute. You try to force them into a rail. They tend to suffer. But I'm really hoping that they just had some fun with contributing to these characters, because he felt like he had fun.
Oh yeah, he definitely had fun. He knew what kind of movie he was in, and he took it and went full force.
Let's hope there's not something that says no, he hated it. Like, oh man, we thought he had fun.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it stays like that.
So, good segue. You know something we haven't talked about in a while?
Enlighten me.
Video games.
It's been a minute. I did finish, speaking of video games, I did finish Watchdogs 2.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. What'd you think?
It was a very interesting game. I enjoyed it.
How would you rate the whole story?
The whole story, it was definitely interesting how they incorporate a lot of the secret societies of these hacker groups.
Okay.
And how it took a lot of stuff from the real world and exemplified it, but in a way that was self-aware, but it's touched on topics that are very relevant to today.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think it did well. It balanced the characters real. I like the fact that there's multiple characters in this compared to the first one, because the first game was very dreary and you're just kind of like a hacker.
Chicago.
Yeah.
So what part of Chicago is not dreary?
I've only been there once, and I noticed a lot of potholes, but that's for another day. But it's just I like the vibrancy, maybe because it wasn't in the typical cities. It was in San Francisco, and being able to, a lot of the hacking was just fun.
That's good.
And just running around, just messing with traffic lights, it was great.
All right, so you finished. So that's a good video game review. Yeah. I, of course, have not played anything recently. I really should sit down and play something soon.
I did go, and this goes back to a conversation we had. I did put Shadows of the Tomb Raider back in the Xbox, so that's probably the next game I'll tackle.
Yeah, I'm really kind of wanting to get my hands on a PS4 just to try some of the story games that have come out.
Yeah, it is.
I started watching.
It's definitely worth getting for a lot of the exclusives.
I started watching Days Gone from with Gamers Little Playground. And that one is that film is like between 6 and 9 hours.
Okay.
But Gamers Little Playground will do gameplay along with the cutscenes to where it feels very organic as a story. So I just started Days Gone, which only about an hour into it, it feels a lot like how Last of Us was, and
I played a good chunk of Last of Us, and it's a good story game.
It is. It's a very good story game. This one just seems a very good story game in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of those story games I'd like to play, but I also know they're huge time sucks, and I just don't have enough balance right now to do that.
Yeah, I try to balance between time-sucking games and just action, just blow through.
Yeah,
that's why Watchdogs 2 was a good balance. It was relatively short. It only took me a couple months to beat that game, so I was kind of shocked at how short it was. But it didn't take away from the fun.
No.
But the longer games are the ones that I have to find time. So, like Octopath Traveler that I'm playing on Switch, that's going to be a time-consuming game because I already know there's a lot of stuff you can just trickle out and touch in that game.
Yeah, and I do want to sit down and go through Witcher 3. And I do want to sit down and do some of that. So it's not like I don't have good story games, and there are more games coming. So, it may just be, let's law of averages. I probably just don't have time to go to PlayStation right now.
Yeah. Well, you can always leave it over here because eventually Final Fantasy VII is going to drop that remake. So that might be a game worth getting it for, since they said they're only releasing it for the PS4 and nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, well, regardless, PlayStation does have a lot of exclusivity, but Microsoft has got a lot of release viability right now.
Oh, yeah. Between them picking up all those studios and having Game Pass, they do have a window of opportunity.
And every exclusive title will go through Game Pass. Speaking of exclusive titles, next month we got the start of the fall game release season.
Oh yes, it does. It starts off with a bang because we have Gears 5, an exclusive to Microsoft, and then the big one that people have been looking forward to.
Now that one, I think that one was kind of shocking because I remember when they announced Borderlands 2, you waited months to find out what was going on, and here it's Borderlands 3. We're talking about it. Oh yeah, we're releasing it.
Oh yeah, but it's been in development for 5 years too. So
well, obviously, but it's finally catching my radar. It's like, oh,
wow. They did the Bethesda thing. Like, oh yeah, here's Fallout 4.
Yeah,
Bing,
and it's out.
But
so, fall season gonna kick it off.
There's some big names coming out. Not as big as some years, but there are some worth noting.
All right, yeah, we have Borderlands 3, Gears 5. We have Star Wars: The Fallen Order, Doom Eternal. A lot. And Monster Hunter World Iceborn. That
is an expansion that a lot of people are looking forward to.
I've seen a lot of good things for it. I'm curious.
That is a grind game. That is definitely.
I haven't gotten. I actually think I'm only maybe about a third of the way through the story because I was spending all my time grinding and trying to, because I get to be completionist and
yes.
So I went down to, I'm going to make one of everything I can make.
Let's make one sword and one dagger and 15 versions of this shield.
Yeah. Filling out the tree completely with what I can do and leveling up that way, and then moving on to the next point in the story when I couldn't do anything else. And then I put it down for like a year.
Hey, and that's something that we all do. I am guilty of this.
So what's something else on the gaming world you want to chat about?
Well, there's quite a few names out there. Like you've mentioned a few. Some other big names that are dropping. Another exclusive for the PS4 of Death Stranding, which is Kojima's next game after the Metal Gear games, after he did that departure.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a weird looking game. Every trailer that's come out, you have no idea what this game is about.
Yeah.
The Pokemon is about to drop their first game on the Switch, built from the ground up, Sword and Shield. Some other ones out there is a big sports game that happens every year, FIFA 20. Soccer is big, and trust me, even if you're not a big soccer fan, playing FIFA games would make you go ole, 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 or throw a controller at your friend. It depends. Some interesting names out there. I didn't even know this was coming out this year. Shimu 3. That plays to the fan base. There was a game called Shimu and Shimu 2 that came out on Dreamcast. Very beloved kind of RPG. Mm-hmm. So this one was created and built off a Kickstarter. Oh, so wow. It is something that the fans are looking forward to. The Outerworld, I believe that's that open world game. I know that was notated at E3 for something.
Yeah.
So, and a couple of the big ones that are being released. One, actually, a pseudo console. I'll get to that one later. The 2 games that are coming out, you have Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Yes, so it's a return. That looks like it'll be very good.
And the reboot, revision of Call of Duty Modern Warfare in October. But the big thing about this one, which is the kicker, is that at launch, it's going to support crossplay.
That'll be good.
And that just shows the fact that we're slowly and surely moving towards a day where you're going to be able to play. I'd be able to, on my PS4, play with you on your Xbox One with most games. It might even get to a point where, heaven forbid,
the Call of Duty franchise has been in the esports arena for years and years and years. Each time there's new Call of Duty, that's what everybody's playing for the esports when it comes for that particular section. So having it cross-play is really going to open up because typically when you see it, it's all PC players.
Oh yeah,
and PC players versus PlayStation players versus Xbox players is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's going to give you the best people in each system playing against each other. So you're going to get the best of the best. And also the fact is that when you have the big shooter out there saying yes, we're going to support crossplay, it opens the eyes in the industry, saying like this is going to be the standard.
Yeah. Yeah, Infinity War and the Call of Duty franchise definitely sets a lot of bars.
Oh yeah.
And you said there was a pseudo console?
Oh yeah, it's something that's been in the works for a while, and Google's mentioned this back in the past that they want to get into the console business, and their console, Google Stadia, is going to be released to be determined this fall.
Okay. So why would I be interested in Google in this when you get your PlayStation, Sony's got PlayStation, Microsoft has Xbox, Nintendo has the Switch, Steam has their terminal box, Steam box that allows you to play those games like they're on a console. What's this one gonna do?
It's kind of hard to defend this, and I'm not even going to try. It's just when you look at it, it's basically access through a browser with 4K format on games that you can already get between everything you just said.
You're spending. Don't forget the Apple TV allows you to just connect a controller and play games that way too.
So it's a failure from the start. I don't have the prices or anything, but they did release prices and stuff out there, and you have to have a subscription to be able to access these games through their service, on top of purchasing the pseudo console to work, which is just an attachment to a browser.
But what games are you going to be attaching to that?
I have no idea. The concept is one that I will praise Google for doing, where you have access to the 4K type games through a browser anywhere, but it's just with such a stronghold between the trifecta and then PC master race, it's going to be hard for them to even sneak into this market.
I mean, the most I could think is you can do PC. You can attach a computer to your TV and add in the apps that allows you to stream your console to that. So it seems weird, and it seems like I thought we were behind this.
Yeah, we probably are, but everybody always tries to make another thing.
This was behind us.
Yeah. But hey, for every successful N64, there is a Jaguar.
Okay, on that logic, I can definitely go with. Speaking of nostalgia games, what's a nostalgia game you'd like to see come back?
A nostalgia game come back. Oh, I have to dig through the cobwebs.
Lately, I've been thinking about one and one only.
What game?
Tetris.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Doing some moving around stuff and playing Tetris. It's like just to do Tetris. I I bet you there's a browser version of Tetris you can get through the App Store.
But I guess my nostalgia, they already brought it back, is when they released the Crash Bandicoot trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was just that PlayStation was a blast. So
yeah,
they did do a lot of retro re-releases with like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. So they kind of did dabble. Resident Evil 2 remake. Yeah, so they did pull some of my childhood back. So
cool. Well, you know what? I think that's a good spot to end today.
End on a high note.
Oh yeah, retro gaming, as well as all this other gaming news, which we'll have to see what we can do about, collaborating on one or two of them to kind of give a play-by-play on.
We can definitely try that one day.
Yeah, sounds like a good thing. Let's put that on the calendar.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So
well,
we're in the dog days of August, so whatever movie shows up, will be reviewed.
Oh yeah, what do you got on the docket for the next week?
Well, they have that movie with the dog and the racer. The Art of Racing in the Rain comes out this weekend. I know the one for the kids, the Dora the Explorer movie comes out this week, and then there's a few indies throughout until the big one comes out in September that I'm looking forward to. It Part 2.
Oh yeah, an actual sequel.
Yeah, so it'll probably be kind of dry. Hoping that maybe I get to see a So Bad It's So Good movie between now and then, because I'm really churning to see a bad movie. It's just a taste in my mouth I need in my. Hobbs and Shaw didn't touch it, but it touched a different vertebrae.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. Most of what I've got on the next week is actual activities with actual activities. Got a baseball game going tomorrow.
That's good. Tides game?
Yep.
Okay.
Gonna go out and watch a Tides game. I think the last time I saw them, they were under their old name.
Oh yeah. But another type of review I might have coming down soon is a review of that new Amazon show, The Boys.
Oh yes, we could definitely talk about The Boys.
Because that first episode, like I told Scuba over here, I watched it and all I did was WTF, because what happened in that just made me go, oh.
We were last weekend at the airsoft field. One of the guy I think it came out last week or the week before. When The Boys came out, one of the guys had come in, and he was looking so tired, right? And it's like, dude, what happened? And he goes, I didn't sleep last night. Well, why not? I started watching The Boys. The next thing I know, I watched the whole thing. And it's like, wow. And then I checked it out, and it's like, I'm 2 episodes in, and it's like, that is just insane fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can binge it, but I have way too much stuff I watch, so I just kind of keep the anticipation going between the shows.
We may watch a little bit. I know I got a couple of friends are coming over tomorrow. We're going to finish watching Genlock on Rooster Teeth, which looking forward to seeing how that ends. We got like 2 episodes left of the first season. And then this weekend it's games. Group of friends, Saturday game crew. We're going to do, I'm not sure what we're going to do, if we're going to do board games or not, but I'm hosting. So everybody's going to be descending on the clubhouse to hang out. And then Sunday, we're going to continue with our adventures in Waterdeep for our Waterdeep Dragon Heist crew.
Okay, roll them dice and hope for the best.
Seeing what happens. I mean, it was curious. We had the character died, and it looked like he came back, but he may not be who we think he is.
The mystery unfolds.
So that should have some recaps of those games next time we get together. And then I've got a trip I'm going on next week as well. Going to go visit my grandmother for her 90th birthday.
The Wisconsin trip is here to go.
Yeah, so we'll try and get a record session in before the trip, but we'll see how it plays. We may have to hold off till after I get back from my trip and just do a couple of things.
Bend like Gumby.
Yep. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. Give us a like, give us a review, drop us a line, and good night.
Peace.